This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight, a special edition of Unsolved Mysteries from the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas. In 1836, 189 brave men made a gallant last stand at the Alamo, holding off 6,000 Mexican soldiers for nearly 2 weeks. In the end, the defenders would all die. But according to legend, they left behind an unclaimed legacy, possibly a fortune in gold and silver buried at the bottom of an old well. Incredibly, some believe it was more than just a legend. For almost a month, a team of archaeologists and researchers have been excavating here in an attempt to uncover the secrets of the Alamo. What, if anything, will they find? A legendary hidden treasure? Or perhaps priceless artifacts from history lost for nearly 160 years? In the next hour, we'll bring you this fascinating story, as well as these intriguing mysteries. In Sulphur, Louisiana, intruders broke into a comfortable suburban home and murdered a prominent young couple, Pam and Eric Littleton. 4 years later, Pam's father, Huey Littleton, is still searching for the truth behind the brutal deaths. The investigation has taken Huey into the depths of a bizarre ritualistic subculture and led him to believe that his daughter and son-in-law were killed by members of a satanic cult. When Denise Williams was 17, she fell in love with an older man named Randall Utterback. She says she also fell victim to a terrifying spiral of abuse, which allegedly culminated in a vicious attack. Now the authorities need your help to bring Randall Utterback to justice. Join me for this special edition, The Secrets of the Alamo, and more on Unsolved Mysteries. Remember the Alamo, the famous battle cry that echoes across the fields of time, a lasting tribute to freedom, liberty, and independence. But some believe the full story of the Alamo has yet to be told. Legend has it that in the shadow of the old mission, an intriguing secret remains buried, a secret which dates back to 1836, the year of the epic battle. That January, a group of rugged frontiersmen made their way across the vast prairie of southern Texas. By some accounts, they were loaded down with a fortune in silver and gold, legendary Saba Treasure, said to be worth millions of dollars. The men were bound for the Alamo. The treasure was intended to finance the Texas Revolution for independence from Mexico. The leader of the expedition was a man named Jim Bowie, a colonel in the Texas Cavalry and renowned throughout the West for the hunting knife which would later bear his name. 2 months later, Bowie and 188 other men, including Davy Crockett, would make a courageous stand against 6,000 well-trained Mexican soldiers at the Alamo. Not one of the defenders would live to tell the tale, but the legend of the treasure would endure. Today, all that remains of the Alamo is the old hallowed chapel. Here on the grounds of the plaza, history comes alive. You can almost hear the cannon shot and the charge of cavalry. You can also feel the excitement of discovery. Just a few feet from where I'm standing, legend and science have crossed paths with an unsolved mystery. For the past 3 weeks, a team of archaeologists and researchers has been excavating the street just in front of the Alamo. What will they find? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps a legendary Saba Treasure. Or perhaps priceless artifacts from the battle, untouched for nearly 160 years. The dig is the culmination of a dream for Frank Buschbacher, a professional fortune hunter and historical researcher.
Mira, este es Frank Buschbacher.
Frank's quest began in 1986. On a trip to Colima, Mexico, he was introduced to Maria Gomez, a respected museum curator who also had a reputation as a seer and prophetess.
¿Sabías tú que estaba un tesoro enterrado en el Álamo?
Did you know that there is a treasure buried at the Alamo?
I'd never heard of any treasure surrounding the Battle of the Alamo. It was just a valiant battle that was lost. And then she went on to describe it as gold coins, artifacts, silver artifacts, religious artifacts is what she described them as.
Santana took part of the treasure that was buried there.
Frank was told that some of the treasure had been removed by Mexican soldiers, but the bulk of the fortune still remained hidden at the Alamo.
She's going to draw you a map.
This is the crude map sketched out by Maria Gomez. She predicted that the treasure would be found here at the bottom of an old well. Even though Maria said she had never been to the Alamo, she had approximated the spot where a well was dug just prior to the siege. At the time, the Alamo grounds covered nearly 3 acres. The chapel was located in the rear of the fortification. The well was in the plaza, which was enclosed by stone walls up to 12 feet high. It was within those walls that the Texans held out for a full 13 days. The defenders repulsed one advance after another, but in the end, 189 men could not stave off 6,000 Mexican soldiers. Frank Buschbacher believes that in a final act of desperation, Jim Bowie ordered that the treasure be hidden at the bottom of the well, thus saving it to finance the war effort.
And the only way they preserve it is to all stick together and fight the battle out to whatever outcome it had. This really is the first Bank of Texas, the first catch of precious metals that would have bought them the arms and uniforms they needed. The reason why it's remained there is because everybody died.
The Alamo is now preserved as an historic landmark in the heart of downtown San Antonio, Texas. Frank believes that the treasure will be found beneath the road that fronts the chapel. To many native Texans, however, Buschbacher's theory is little more than revisionist history.
But the people of the Alamo, I don't think they were guarding a treasure. When your life is on the line like it was in the battle with General Santana, I don't think you're thinking about silver or gold bullion. I think you're thinking about your life. And I don't think you would be polluting your water well because you don't know how long your siege is going to be.
Despite the controversy, Frank Buschbacher was determined to prove his point. In 1992, he obtained permission to survey the area with ground-penetrating radar.
Okay, we got a void.
The test yielded intriguing results.
So we've got a nice little area there about 3 to 4 meters down. Looks to be maybe a covered over cistern. That's all strictly conjectured, but this is a very good looking target.
3 separate disturbances or anomalies were found beneath the surface. The largest, which Frank believes is a site of the well, is in the precise location where Maria Gomez predicted the treasure would be found. Further tests revealed an object 18 to 24 inches in diameter at a depth of approximately 13 feet. The object is metallic, but it is not a natural mineral deposit.
It was a chill that ran down my back. It kind of brought all my research to fruition at that point because I knew with the map, her story, and then plugging it into Texas history that I was on a hot trail, and any dissension that I had within my own mind about whether I should follow this any further was gone.
The anomalies could be caused by many things. I think it could be debris, equipment left by the Texans, either Army. I think it could be something several years later that was deposited there. You know, as time marches on, dust and dirt and silt and debris accumulate and cover very gradually so that we do not know. And I think that probably that could be part of what they're picking up out there.
What did the ground radar detect? Is it possible that the legendary San Saba treasure does exist? Or could the anomaly be some long-lost artifact from the battle? Whatever the case, Frank Buschbacher was determined to find out. Frank would spend 3.5 years acquiring the necessary permits and financial backing to excavate the site. In 1994, the Archaeology Department at St. Mary's University in San Antonio agreed to oversee the digging.
What we have here is another...
The project director is Professor Thomas Guderjan. He believes that no matter what lies at the bottom of the well, it will have historical significance that you cannot put a price on.
There's a whole series of possibilities of what we may find, whether it's treasure, as in gold and silver and that sort of thing, or whether it is materials that were thrown into the well during the battle, materials that were thrown into the well during the cleanup after the battle. Doesn't make any difference to us while we're looking at it in a historical perspective. Whatever it is, it's a time capsule. It's the only opportunity we have that we know of to find something related to those few short months and the few short days of the battle itself.
On February 1st, 1995, the moment had finally arrived. The dig was set to begin. Frank Buschbacher and 2 of his colleagues, Jim Rowe and Tim McClure, plotted last-minute changes to the schedule. The plans call for excavating a 15 by 15-foot area directly above the well. A work crew must first remove 3 feet of flagstone and roadbed to reach the 1836 ground level, the top of the filled-in well. Proceeding carefully with hand tools, the workers will then remove decades of dirt and debris from the 9-foot deep shaft.
One thing for certain is that there's something down there. Whether there's gold or silver or old rifles down there, that's not what's really important. What's really important is that we're going to find out about what happened.
I'm interested in what he finds, and if it's a treasure, that'll be very exciting. If it's a cannonball, a part of a cannon, you know, metal like that, that'll be interesting to know about. It'll be another part of history.
What we do know about that ground is it hasn't been disturbed since the battle. And we have a time capsule down there no matter what it is. And it is a treasure no matter what it is.
For the entire team and hundreds of onlookers, it was a day of boundless joy and nervous anticipation. As layer after layer of history was peeled away, the archaeologists traveled back through time to the final days of the Alamo. When we return, perhaps you can help track down this man accused of kidnapping his former girlfriend. January 1994, an isolated country road just outside a small Missouri town with the unlikely name of Mexico. The young woman under attack is Denise Williams. She is 19. The man with a gun is her ex-boyfriend, 31-year-old Randall Utterback. They had met a year and a half earlier at a party after Denise's senior prom. To the naive 17-year-old schoolgirl, Randall seemed exotic and dashing, just dangerous enough to be exciting.
So I'm glad you had a good time. I think my friends really liked you.
I met Randall a week before graduation. I just thought he was the cutest thing, and he had been known around town for his motorcycles, and he owned a mountain lion at the time. And everyone had talked real highly of him. He was really outgoing, really spontaneous, spur of the moment, let's go do this. He would take me out to nice places and concerts. And then after 2 weeks of Randall and I being together, it all changed. It was gradual. He started out saying, don't wear makeup, don't wear hairspray, don't wear perfume. And then it grew to, don't hang out with this person, don't be friends with her because she's a bad influence. You have to choose them or me.
Denise Williams had gotten in way over her head. According to Denise, Randall Utterback, older and more worldly, quickly established an abusive pattern, denigrating her, rejecting her, and then putting on a great show of forgiveness. For Randall, it seemed that love equaled possession. Once he had Denise, he was not about to let go. When Denise went away to college 3 months after meeting Randall, she hoped that distance would improve the relationship, but Randall only became more obsessive.
Oh, Randall, you scared me.
Denise? Hey, I called you this morning. Where were you?
I had to go to class.
Yeah, I know, but you said you'd wait for my phone call.
Randall was very controlling and manipulative.
Are you happy to see me?
I'd have to call Randall if I was going down to the cafeteria. Just in case Randall called and I wasn't there to accept his phone call, he'd think I'd be out with some other people or having friends doing something that I wasn't supposed to do.
Denise's family was shocked when Randall talked her into leaving school. She enrolled at a community college closer to home and closer to Randall.
He had me convinced he was the only one there for me because he had got me so isolated from my family and my friends to where he would tell me, I'm the only one here for you. You know, you need me in your life. And I got to the point where I started to believe that.
You're doing it wrong. It's backwards. You gotta flip it over.
No, I didn't. It looks fine.
Look, Denise, I'm just trying to help you, all right? You want my help or not?
Several months passed. The abusive pattern continued. Finally, Denise reached her breaking point.
Are you calling me a liar, Denise?
Randall, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just telling you this is the way it looks.
You're an idiot. You know that? You stupid bi-
Please calm down. There's people watching.
Yeah? Well, I don't really care.
Randall.
I would be called names. I'd be tore down. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion with Randall.
That's it, Denise. That's it. I've had it. We're finished.
I was relieved. I wanted to get away from him. I had just had enough. I told Randall we were through.
He's crazy.
Better than Fitzgerald was.
Yeah, man.
Randall was stunned when Denise did not come crawling back.
Denise.
He couldn't abide her newfound independence.
I just don't want to see you anymore, okay?
I've been upset. I can't sleep.
No, Randall, don't you
Just
get
give
it?
me 5 minutes, Denise.
Just leave me
Just give me
alone.
5 minutes. I just need to talk to you.
Just leave me alone.
Just get out of my way. This is between me and... I said get out!
Randall Utterback could not go peaceably. Denise says he began to follow her, to stalk her, waiting until she was alone and vulnerable.
What are you doing?
Randall hit the back of my car and it ran me off the road. He come over to my car, and then he dragged me over to his dad's truck to go with him. And he told me that if I didn't take him back, something bad would happen to someone I love. He wanted me to marry him. I told Randall I wouldn't marry him.
Randall Utterback was arrested for felonious restraint and aggravated stalking.
Listen, the sheriff said I could call my lawyer and let him know I'm here.
He was in jail for a week before posting bond. A restraining order was issued, barring him from seeing or talking to Denise. For a month, Randall obeyed the order. Denise finally began to remember what a normal life was like, but she had let down her guard too soon.
I was driving home from school, and I saw this black car behind me. I didn't think it was him. I thought it was just some school kids driving home from school. Next thing I know, that car pulls up beside me, and it was Randall.
What are you doing?
Again, he's motioning me to pull over, and I wouldn't. I sped up. And as I sped up, he sped up and went beside me again.
Absolutely not. No way.
Denise? Denise, get out of the car. Denise? Denise? Wait! Denise! Denise, wait! Denise!
Denise tried to spray Randall with mace. In the struggle, Randall allegedly bit her hand and dropped his gun.
Shut up! God! Randall, stop it! Randall, would you please release me? Get my feet in this car! Randall, please, can I get my feet in the car? This is not funny. What are you trying to do to me? What is your problem?
I just needed to tell you, Denise, that I love you and I want you back in my life, okay? That's all I'm asking for.
No, Randall, I can't. How can you expect me to do that after what you just done
I just
to me?
wanted to start over. I just want another chance, and you're just not giving me another chance.
I'm not gonna give you another
Damn
chance,
it! I need
Randall.
to start over. I need another chance. Now give it to me.
And then he said that if I wouldn't take him back, there was no need for him to live in, and he asked me to kill him. He asked me to stab him through the heart.
Of course, Denise refused. She pleaded with Randall to stop the car.
Denise, just tell him it ain't my gun.
Now. Look at all those people.
I know, Denise. I
They're
know,
gonna figure
Denise.
out that's my
Just
car
wait,
seat,
Denise.
and they're
Denise.
not
Denise,
gonna-
shut up, Denise. God, I hate it when you do that. All right, look. You just understand this. If you don't say exactly what I told you to say, I'm going to take you out of this state, and you'll never see your family again. You understand that?
Yeah. I understand.
I love you.
Denise's father and a sheriff's deputy, along with several other people, had already gathered around Denise's car.
Daddy!
Denise, honey, are you all right? Oh, my God! Was it Randall?
Even before he let her speak to her father, the deputy began to question Denise.
Randall, Daddy!
Denise, come back here.
He immediately drove Denise to the emergency room to have her checked out.
I just want to see my dad.
He'll be over there. He'll be at the hospital when you get there.
Oh, no, that's him! Right there!
That's Randall?
That's him! Right there!
All right, okay. Just stay calm, Denise. Stay right there. You're going to be. No, you're going to be all right. You're fine.
With your left hand, reach out, open the door. Keep your hands in the air. Face away from me.
Randall Utterback was charged with stalking, felonious restraint, and with 3 counts of armed criminal action. He was imprisoned without bond for 6 months. Then, 6 months later, he was taken to the hospital and in transit managed to escape. Today, he remains at large.
As of today, I'm still living in fear. I don't know when he'll come back, but I have a feeling he will. I don't live with my parents anymore, because I have a feeling that would be the first place Randall checked for me. I don't go anywhere by myself. I'm just scared he's gonna come back and I won't be able to convince him a third time to let me go.
Randall Utterback's parents have issued statements asserting that their son did not commit the acts of which he is accused. They say that Denise and the local authorities are out to assassinate Randall's character. However, the Sheriff's Department in 2 different Missouri counties stand firm in their position that Utterback is a dangerous criminal. Next, a father's desperate quest to find his daughter's killer. In junior high and high school, Pam Littleton of Sulphur, Louisiana, was voted most popular, friendliest, and the prettiest girl. She was a cheerleader. She was the homecoming queen. After college, Pam married Eric Ellender, a bright, up-and-coming businessman. The newlyweds bought a house near Pam's parents, and Eric went to work for Pam's father. A year later, Pam gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The family circle was now complete. Nearly every day, Pam walked over to her parents' house for a visit. She didn't want her mother and father to miss a moment of their granddaughter's childhood.
Pamela, I guess, would be, she was the type of daughter that every father would dream of having, you know. She had dreamed of being a housewife and a mother. That was her ambition in life, and she was totally happy.
Mom, I don't think she's hungry. Probably more like 11. Okay, Dory.
Don't worry, I'll cover for you.
All righty. Hello.
At 8:45 p.m. on February 11th, 1991, Pam's husband, Eric, called her to say he was home from work.
All right, bye.
Pam left her parents' house 30 minutes later. By the next afternoon, no one in the family had heard from Pam or Eric, which was highly unusual. Then Huey Littleton got a phone call from his mother-in-law.
She says, Huey, I just left Pam and Eric's, and something's wrong down there. They're in their bed. I have the baby, and I'm back at your house. Call the sheriff. I told her, I said, I will call the sheriff and I will call an ambulance. What appears to be the problem? She said, call the sheriff. The sheriff's unit met us at the gate going into the yard and asked that we not go near the house. And we learned that Pam and Eric were dead, that both of them had been brutally shot with a shotgun and the fatal wounds were to their head.
There was only one blessing amidst the horror. Although traumatized, Pam and Eric's daughter was physically unharmed. Still, the Littletons were left numb with grief.
Absolutely, total, complete shock. Unbelief, I could not believe it. I mean, how can you possibly believe your daughter's dead?
It totally immobilized me. I couldn't cry. All I could do was say why and who.
The day after the murders, 18-year-old Chris Prudhomme, a resident of Sulphur, was arrested in Baton Rouge along with 3 friends. They were in possession of Eric Ellender's Toyota 4Runner.
Chris, where was the shotgun?
It's in a case.
Chris Prudhomme became the focus of the investigation.
Which gun did you use?
The automatic shotgun.
And did you load it?
No, it was loaded.
So what did you do after you got the gun and saw that it was loaded?
I went and shot him.
Who did you shoot first?
I shot the guy.
He confessed under oath that he had killed Pam and Eric, that he had no remorse for doing so. In fact, was glad that he did so.
17 days after the murders, Prudhomme was discovered hanging by the neck in the jail shower room. He never regained consciousness and died in the hospital. This suicide note was found in his cell. In the note, Prudhomme took sole credit for the murders, saying, quote, "I enjoyed very much in the taking of those 2 individuals' lives." As far as the sheriff's department was concerned, the case was closed. They had made an arrest. The suspect had confessed, then hung himself. But to Huey Littleton's experienced eye, loose ends were everywhere. Huey is a licensed private detective and owns his own company. Once he began to investigate, he came to believe that Chris Prudhomme had belonged to a satanic cult called the Skaters, an acronym for Satan's Kids Against the Establishment.
Okay, Chris was alone.
Okay.
He's by himself, as long as we all understand
Yes.
that. Is he gonna talk? Because I'm not going down for this.
I'm not either.
Look, he's not gonna talk if he knows better.
The girlfriend of one of the skaters told Huey of a meeting that took place the morning after Pam and Eric were killed.
So, we gotta come up with something. Now, we know he wasn't alone, but what about the cops, okay? We gotta get it all straight now.
Okay, so he's by himself, he's on foot, right? Right. He's all high, he doesn't know what he's doing. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And then what? What?
He's walking through this neighborhood, and he sees this
Right.
house.
Okay, so he busts in.
The witness said it appeared that the skaters were trying to concoct an alibi for a person or persons who had been with Chris Prudhomme when the murders occurred.
By himself, right?
She went on to say that Prudhomme and one accomplice had broken into the Ellender's house only to burglarize it.
Check this out. That's nice.
But they were high on LSD and ended up murdering Pam and Eric using one of Eric's shotguns.
I was at a bar that night, and I was drinking.
Huey Littleton felt that many of the crucial facts were still unknown. He continued to interview witnesses, well over 100 in all.
And they mentioned something about a party that was just right up the road.
Huey was stunned when a girl named Nikki Alderson told him that in the early morning hours, just after the murders, the skaters had hosted a party at the crime scene.
Oh, geez, they were doing a whole bunch of stuff.
When we got out to this house, I saw some people kind of in a distance, and when we walked up to them, I realized I knew some of them.
Nikki said one of the first people she saw at the party was Chris Prudhomme.
Hey, what's up? Not much.
Whose place is this?
I don't know right now.
They were all just standing around drinking and talking and making different remarks about God and things like that. And
Hey, let's see what's going on.
we went in, there's people standing around, there's people sitting down.
Nikki went outside.
You can kind of feel from the vibes of people, you know, it was kind of weird because everybody was in their, you know, like I said, in their own little world.
I just got here. Let me see what I can get.
I didn't get a lot.
Some were doing some drugs on the table. It had enough drugs on there where I could see from a distance of what they were snorting.
Hey, thanks. That's what I want.
Nikki claims she had no idea at the time that 2 dead bodies were in the house. Only the next day, while watching television, would she absorb the full impact of the party.
I was watching the news and I saw this house and I was like, oh my God, I was at that house. And so I just kind of kept quiet, you know, and just watched. And then when I saw the gentlemen that were on TV, that were the suspects, then I knew, you know, that was the guys that was there, that was the people I'd seen. And I just come to the realization that I was there.
I don't know.
We were asked by Mr. Littleton to relook at the case, and we did, and everything that he let us know about, we checked into and found out it was not reliable information, or it didn't have factual information enough to bring to the district attorney's office. Also, everything that we reviewed, the district attorney reviewed, and so has the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana reviewed, and its facts speak for itself.
The sheriff's department says they saw no evidence that a party had been held in the house. However, Huey Littleton found one other person who confirmed Nikki Alderson's account. This witness added sickening details, claiming that the dead bodies of Pam and Eric were molested sexually by more than one person. Those claims are verified by this man, Chip Richard. Chip told Huey that although he was not at the Ellender house, he had seen videotapes which were made that night.
I
I've seen one, and I've talked to a couple other people that's seen them. To me, every one of them the people I've talked to that seen them, it's all the same. They show on the video, what I saw on the video was the people killing the Ellanders, having sexual contact with them, just basically everything that really goes on,
This is about as low as humanity can crawl or dig or furrow. Where is their soul? Where is their spirit?
Huey was now convinced that the truth behind the murder of his daughter and son-in-law was far more sinister than he ever imagined. With Chris Prudhomme dead, 18-year-old Robert Atkins emerged as a key figure in the case. Atkins was one of the 3 young men arrested with Prudhomme in Baton Rouge.
Bobby took me in the backyard. He told me that he wanted to tell me what had happened because he needed to get it off of his chest.
What happened is me and Chris...
While out on bail, Atkins allegedly told Sean Moody that he was present when Chris Prudhomme killed the Ellanders.
And when we get in, we just headed straight to the living room.
He told me they were looking around for valuables, him and Chris, and they had found a gun, a shotgun. And when they entered the master bedroom, the wife woke up. Chris shot the wife first, and then the husband had woken, and Chris shot him.
But according to Chip Richard, Atkins said that Chris Prudhomme had not murdered anyone. Instead, he had volunteered to take the fall for his fellow skaters.
Yeah, I was there.
What happened?
Well, Chris,
He had told me that, Chris was taking the rap for him because Chris was becoming the leader in the cult. And just basically everybody that was with him worshiped him and, would do anything for him. And, in return, he had to do for them the same that they would do for him.
Kim came to me about 1 or 2 days after the murders, and she told me that she was there.
Finally, Huey Littleton found a key witness, Pearl Fruget.
Yeah, she went into a lot of detail about everything, about Pam and about Eric and about the baby.
Pearl claimed that her cousin Kim Manuel was in the house when the murders took place.
She was definitely there.
Do you think we can get her to talk about it on tape?
Well, sure, but Kim's my friend. She's my cousin. I mean, I don't want to do anything to her behind her back.
Chris, one other girl, and another guy were in the house.
The next day, Pearl did record a conversation with Kim's permission. Kim described the murders in detail, but never admitted on the tape to being in the house herself.
Chris bumped something and Eric woke up. I guess he went to grab for the gun and Chris shot him. Then Pam woke up and the other guy shot her. Chris was gonna kill the baby too, but the girl told him no. She took the baby and brought it into Pam and Eric's room and laid it down with them. And then she went outside. I've been getting threats about this, Pearl. What am I supposed to do?
Pearl thought the best thing she could do was present the tape before a grand jury.
And now, the actual tape.
Kim, what really happened that night? You know he's been calling me and threatening me. I'm really scared.
This to us was a pinnacle point in the investigation. After hearing a lot of testimony, I mean from many witnesses, the grand jury returned an indictment of 2 counts of second-degree murder against Kim Manuel.
Some believe the indictment was a legal maneuver to pressure Kim Manuel into identifying other possible suspects. If so, the ploy failed. Kim Manuel's court-appointed public defender, John Laverne, called a press conference. He claimed that Pearl Fruget was lying, that the tape had been scripted and rehearsed.
She and Kim then concocted this story that they wanted to hear. And then she produced the tape recorder openly and showed it to Kim. And they sat there with a scripted conversation and recorded it and brought it back and gave it to these people, that being what they wanted to hear.
Pearl Fruget stands by her story.
We never made up the tape. I never lied. What I told them was the truth, and Kim knows it's the truth. I can't change what she told me, and I'm not gonna make up another story just to make her look good.
1 year later, the charges against Kim Manuel were dropped without prejudice, which means that she could be indicted again later on. Huey Littleton was bitterly disappointed, and today he has apparently lost almost all credibility with the authorities.
We felt sorry for him at first, but it's got to a point that he's gone way beyond the bounds. We got to deal with facts. When you go before a judge and a jury, he won't be able to bring all these accusations. He'll have to deal with facts. And I think any grand jury, any district attorney, any attorney general will agree with that.
I'm at peace with what I'm doing because we're doing the right thing. There's a lot of people out there that don't have the resources and the knowledge to do what I've done had they lost their child. So I represent those people. I represent my daughter. I represent my son-in-law and their child. We just want to see those that participated in the murders of Eric and Pam, in the cover-up, and the destruction of evidence brought to justice. Justice under the law.
Next, a woman is reunited with her birth mother after more than half a century apart. Recently, we brought you the story of Meredith Atkinson, who was looking for her birth mother, Rosemary Lutmer. In 1938, Rosemary found herself pregnant and unmarried. She sought refuge at the home of Redeeming Love, a shelter for unwed mothers in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It was there that Meredith was born.
Meredith, I'd like for you to keep in mind that with adoption...
53 years later, in 1991, Meredith returned to her birthplace to search for clues about her past.
...and open up their file to the adult adoptee. So
I found out that my mother was of Irish and German descent. I found out that she had one sister and 4 brothers. They were field workers. I would like to be able to look at her and tell her, Mother, I understand. I know you had to do what was best for you, and that I'd like to know you. I'd like to get to know you.
As a direct result of our broadcast, a private investigator named Glenda Allen contacted Meredith and volunteered to take on the search. Just 1 month later, Meredith received the exciting news. Her mother, 78-year-old Rosemary Lutmer, had been found. Though she's been in failing health for several years, Rosemary was anxious to see her long-lost daughter. In September of 1994, Meredith and her 2 children traveled from Arizona to Canute, Oklahoma for the much-anticipated reunion.
Hi there. Well,
Walter. Glad to know you, Walter.
Meredith's Uncle Walter, Rosemary's brother, answered the door.
And I met this. This is Rose.
Yeah.
Hi, Rose. You?
Yes.
I'm Mary Ann.
Yeah.
You know Mary Ann?
Yeah.
I'm so tickled. I think that finding my mother and seeing her and her family has brought closure to my life. I needed this.
You were even a great grandma. Do you know that?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just tickled to death she's here. Yeah, I just wish we was closer together. We could visit a little more often, you know, but I plan to go through there and visit her in Arizona when I go see my brothers, you know, that way. Be kind of on the way up there. Might be a little out of the way, but it'd be worth it.
It's like gaining a new family, and you know, it's like gaining new friends too.
Well, Albert, I think you and I look alike too.
I absolutely am going to be overjoyed to write to them and talk to them and get to know them.
Do you care if I call you Mother?
No.
No.
Thanks for watching. Join me next time for another fascinating edition of Unsolved Mysteries.
Thank you.